Welcome to Flashback News with 3 blondes and a brunette.
I'm Jordan.
I'm Ashton.
I'm Tatum.
Kamryn.
Yeah.
Say your name.
Oh, and I'm Kamryn. Today's flashback will be to the Revolutionary War. And on today's show, we will be covering the topics of fashion, British versus American styles, and entertainment.
War propaganda and the Constitution.
The Boston Tea Party, the Boston Massacre, and the grievances of the colonists.
The Quartering Act, the Battle of Lexington and Concord, and we're going to have a live interview.
Hope you enjoy the show.
What do I have on?
Do you like them?
What
Are
did
you
you get?
kidding
me, Kamryn?
I thought they were cute, guys.
How is this cute? It's hot outside.
We're in colonial times. We have to dress like them. Duh.
Oh my. Figure you could have found something better than this.
You could have at least told us before you made us
Girl, they did not have Hollister and Abercrombie back then. Suck it up, okay? Y'all look cute.
Whatever.
In revolutionary times, they drove feet.
No, Kamryn, just note, they didn't have cars. They had horses.
Horsepower. Hello. Come on, but horsepower.
Now that we're in the right time period, Kamryn.
The first segment on today's show is Revolutionary Book Club, based on Thomas Paine's revolutionary writing. Okay, in today's book club session, we're going to be talking about Thomas Paine.
50 Shades of Grey.
No, Kamryn.
Why not?
No.
What?
His book, Common Sense.
Why not?
Because that has nothing to do with
Well, then why do I have this book?
I don't know, maybe you like reading it.
I don't like reading it. I found it in your book bag.
I don't think so.
I
Anyway, ignoring her, his book was one of the all-time best-selling American books on colonial independence. Tatum, what do you think?
Well, I believe it was about time the colonists actually strived for their independence from the stupid British redcoats. I mean, red? What kind of color is that?
Stupid British redcoats. They look a lot better than the colonists.
I don't know what you've been looking at.
Okay, well, ending on that note, that leads us into our next segment on British versus American fashion. This would be one of the American women. Very plain and simple, usually brown and gray. And they would be the poor of the population. This would be a British woman. A little more elaborate and decorated, but still probably not the best off in the colonies. This would be an American soldier, not rich enough to afford a uniform, so very plain and simple. And this is a British soldier, very elaborate and bright uniforms, and very cocky.
So, Tatum, tell me about that tea party.
Well, on December 16th, 1773, the colonists decided to speak up for their rights. The Massachusetts colonists protested the monopoly on American tea importation, but that didn't work, so they had to take measures to another extreme. The colonists thought if they dressed like Native Americans, that the British would actually think they're Native Americans.
That's funny. Aren't colonists white?
I don't think the British were that dumb, but, I mean, whatever floats their boat. So the Native Americans hopped on a ship and threw 342 cases of tea into the ocean. Let's just say things did not end well for the colonists.
Yeah, they had no tea.
Sucks.
Yeah, I know. What they drink?
Okay, well, speaking of Boston incidences, what's the Boston Massacre like? What is that? Was it really a massacre?
Well, on March 5th, 1770, emotions exploded. The Patriot mob versus British soldiers. Who will come out on top?
She fell out. Go on.
By the way it looked, you would have thought that the British won, but the British had to go to trial and 2 soldiers were found guilty of manslaughter. So this battle really doesn't have a winner. That's for
I would
you.
like to welcome Mr. John Adams to the show. How are you today?
I'm just fine. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you. I would like to ask you a few questions about the Boston Massacre.
Well, now, why do you call it the Boston Massacre? You must have been talking to my cousin.
Well, actually, your cousin is here today. Hi, Sam. How are you?
It's good to be here. And yes, John, they have. How else do you expect them to get the truth?
Well, from me, of course.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's hear one side of the story at a time. John, you go first.
You're right. All right, well, I'll start. My clients were on duty as they were commanded when a bunch of drunken colonists walk up and start yelling and making fun of them.
Wow, this is a great story. I didn't know we were still in kindergarten and we cry when people make fun of us.
I'm just going to ignore that comment. Anyways, they were commanded not to shoot, and when the colonists got angry, they began to back away. Well, when they did, someone accidentally hit their gun and it went off.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. Guns do go off accidentally all the time.
Now wait a second. Don't you remember that the British thought that they were better than us? They thought they could walk on water.
Well, I mean, you have a point there.
Of course I do. That's why this was a massacre. Those soldiers knew exactly what they were doing when they fired into the crowd of unarmed people.
Excuse me, but your unarmed people attacked my clients first.
And if your clients are so high and mighty, they should remember what their job was. Protect, not kill.
Well, it doesn't matter because I got them acquitted.
Yeah, and I drew a picture and that's what everyone remembers.
Well, it was great talking to you both today. Have a nice day, and thanks for watching.
Hi, and welcome back to Two Blondes and a Brunette. Tatum will be out for a few days. On our last flashback, she ended up with smallpox.
We're talking about propaganda during the Revolutionary War. The colonist propaganda said that they were living for the inalienable rights of life, liberty, property, and the pursuit of happiness. Britain's argument was that the colonists were living. King George had given them freedom to live in America, to virtually self-govern, to own property, and to set up businesses and allow them to trade. The colonists really had no right to rebel. The colonists had the same rights as those in England and some of the same obligations. An example is Thomas Paine's Common Sense. Propaganda during this time was used to rewrite events. And here's the supreme law of the United States, the Constitution.
We gather here today on September 17, 1787, to sign this document of the Constitution of the United States of America.
Here are some of the examples of the grievances of the colonies. No paper, no peeking, and get your own house.
Stay away, Britain. We don't need you.
No taxation without representation, and no more
The
tariffs.
shot heard around the world. April 18, 1775, British was sent to Concord to capture John Hancock and Samuel Adams. Both of the men were warned, though, not knowing to the British. Paul Revere warned the night before when he rode around on his horse, saying the British were coming. Minutemen showed up at Lexington, and colonists were withdrawing when a shot was fired. They still don't know who fired the first shot. British killed many and wounded many more. They headed to Concord for ammunition. When the British showed up at Concord, a fight at Concord's North Bridge, the colonists won. The British retreated, and British lost 273, and the colonists lost 94. And that was the beginning of the Revolution.
Yeah, bam!
Tatum, go.
I already called my boy.
Water!
Now we're going to talk about the Quartering Act. Surprisingly, it wasn't about quarters. So, the British put out this law that were supposed to house, feed, and supply troops with the necessary things that they needed. And if they didn't, they would get in trouble. And so it got to a point where soldiers would come in and take over these colonists' house, and they didn't like it. And so they finally acted out against the British, and when they did, there was consequences to pay.